Long before the first sunrise, long before mountains pierced the sky or oceans kissed the land, there was nothing, only the void. But to many ancient African cultures, this nothingness was not mere emptiness. It was potent. It was possibility. Across the continent, from the dense jungles of the Congo to the highlands of Ethiopia, creation myths often begin not with light, but with darkness, chaos, silence, and infinite potential waiting to be stirred. The Dogon of Mali tell of Alma, the supreme creator, dwelling alone in a cosmic egg, spinning silently in infinite space. For the Yoruba, it was Olodumare, the timeless essence and source of all energy, existing in a realm beyond understanding. The Zulu speak of Umvalankanji, a divine force who existed in the sky before land or life. And the Dinka of South Sudan speak of Nyalik, a sky god whose presence filled the heavens even before creation began. In these myths, the primordial void is sacred. It is not evil or to be feared. It is a divine womb. And from this silent expanse, something stirs. A sound. A thought. A movement. Creation begins not with a bang, but with intention. The gods awaken and begin the sacred act of shaping reality. Unlike the Western notion of a single spoken command, "Let there be light," African deities create through action, dance, thought, and breath. Olodumare sends Orunmila with divine knowledge and Obatala with clay to shape human beings. Alma splits the cosmic egg. Bumba feels an unbearable sickness and releases the universe from within his body. This diversity of beginnings reflects Africa's cultural mosaic. Yet, the core message is consistent: life does not erupt from nothing, but from a sacred intelligence dwelling in the stillness. The African gods do not just create matter, they create meaning, order, and identity from the void. In the sacred cosmology of the Yoruba people, found today across Nigeria, Benin, and parts of the Americas through the African diaspora, creation wasn't a solo act. It was a divine blueprint, meticulously laid out by the most supreme being, Olodumare. Silent, vast, and unknowable, Olodumare is not a god you see with human eyes, he is the force behind all forces, the energy that breathes motion into stillness. But Olodumare didn't shape the world alone. No. He delegated. He sent Orunmila, the Orisha of wisdom and destiny, and Obatala, the Orisha of purity and creation, to mold the earth. According to Yoruba mythology, the earth was once a watery, formless realm. Olodumare handed Orunmila a divine chain to descend from the heavens, and with him went Obatala, carrying a bag of sacred tools, soil, a hen, a black cat, and a palm nut. Reaching the edge of the heavens, they descended on the chain, landing on a primeval ocean. Obatala scattered the soil and released the hen to scratch and spread it, creating the first solid land, Alife, the cradle of Yoruba civilization and, symbolically, the center of the world. But the story doesn't stop there. Obatala, tasked with creating humanity, gathered clay and began to mold the first human beings. However, legend says that once, he became drunk on palm wine and made imperfect figures, giving birth to people with disabilities. When he sobered, Obatala was filled with remorse and vowed to protect those individuals for eternity. This wasn't just mythology, it was moral theology. The Yoruba believed even the gods could err, and from that error came compassion, diversity, and responsibility. Meanwhile, Orunmila laid down the framework of Ifa, a sacred system of divination that mapped out human destiny and guided existence. It was through Orunmila that the Yoruba people understood fate was not random, it was structured, sacred, and navigable. Every person was born with a destiny, called Ayanmo, and it was through communion with Orunmila that one could understand their path and fulfill their potential. What makes the Yoruba creation myth so viral and compelling is its architectural precision. It doesn't just explain the origin of the world, it builds a spiritual ecosystem. It introduces delegation of divine duties, ethical accountability, cosmological geography, with Ife at its core, and a sense of personal destiny. In today's world of anxiety, identity crises, and spiritual confusion, the Yoruba blueprint is oddly relevant. It says, "You are not random, your flaws are not curses, and your life has a map." Now that's a message the world is desperate to hear. Imagine the universe beginning not with a bang, but with a sickness. In the myths of the Bushango people of the Congo, the supreme god Bumba, a giant, white-skinned deity, floated alone in the black void. There was no sun, no moon, no stars. Just Bumba, and the darkness. But one day, Bumba doubled over in pain. His stomach churned with divine illness, and from the depths of this cosmic suffering, he vomited the world into existence. Yes, he vomited creation. First, the sun erupted from his mouth, lighting up the void. Then came the moon, stars, and finally Earth itself. But he didn't stop there. In wave after wave, Bumba brought forth creatures, a leopard, an eagle, a crocodile, a fish, even a man. Each one emerged from him, not made by hands, but birthed from within. It wasn't a clinical, orderly act of design. It was raw. It was painful. It was beautifully chaotic. It was birth. This is one of Africa's most visceral and unforgettable origin stories. Bumba doesn't shape the universe with tools or commands, he releases it from his own body. Creation, in this myth, is not distant, it is personal. It is suffering. And from suffering comes everything, light, life, movement, rhythm. It's a lesson we rarely hear in modern narratives: pain can be divine. Even gods must suffer to bring forth something extraordinary. The Bushango also speak of Bumba's sons. One of them tried to create but failed, releasing only trouble and chaos, an ancient warning that not all creation is meant to be. Another son created the white heron and other birds. And thus, the world was not only formed by Bumba's divine agony but enriched by collaboration. Even gods needed help. Even gods knew when to stop. This myth might sound bizarre at first, but its underlying messages hit deep in today's age. Creativity comes from chaos. Birth is messy. Pain, when channeled, leads to beauty. And most importantly, the divine isn't sterile or aloof. It is deeply intimate, flawed, and emotional. In a world obsessed with perfection, Bumba's story offers viral power because it says, creation is messy. So are you. And that's okay. In the cliffs of Mali, where the winds whisper ancient secrets and the stars burn with sacred precision, lives one of Africa's most mysterious civilizations, the Dogon. Their creation myth isn't just a story. It's a cosmic code, a tapestry of symbols, astronomy, and divine mathematics. At the center of it all is Amma, the supreme being who created the universe, not once, but twice. According to Dogon cosmology, Amma began with an egg. But this wasn't just any egg, it was the cosmic egg, spinning in the silent void. Inside it were the seeds of everything: time, space, matter, and spirit. Amma tried to create the world by mating with the earth, but the earth resisted. She moved prematurely, and the result was an imperfect creation, a troublesome being known as Urugu, the jackal, the symbol of chaos, disorder, and failed potential. Refusing to let chaos reign, Amma tried again. This time, he shaped the world through a sacred process involving twin spirits called the Namo. Half-human, half-serpent deities who brought language, order, and balance. They descended from the heavens in a blazing arc, splashing into Earth's primordial waters, restoring harmony to Amma's disrupted creation. The Namo brought knowledge, weaving spiritual law into the fabric of the universe. They were not just creators, they were cosmic engineers. But here's the twist. For centuries, the Dogon have preserved astonishing knowledge of the Sirius star system, including the existence of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye and only confirmed by Western science in 1970. How did a pre-literate society know about a tiny white dwarf star that requires high-powered telescopes to detect? Was it coincidence? Or evidence that Dogon myths, like their creation story, are not just metaphors, but blueprints of real cosmic history? This section practically begs to go viral because it straddles the line between myth and science, ancient and futuristic. The Dogon are not only telling us how the world began, they're challenging everything we think we know about civilization, knowledge, and the universe itself. In an era obsessed with aliens, space travel, and ancient tech, the Dogon scream, "We've been talking about this for centuries." Ama's egg. The Namo's descent. Sirius. This isn't just mythology, it's a cosmic conspiracy woven into African oral tradition. Before the spears of Shaka Zulu ever thundered across southern Africa, the Zulu people told of another kind of thunder, a divine, earth-shaking force named Umvalankanji, the god who came first. He was not born. He had no rival. He simply existed, dwelling in the heavens, watching over the endless void below. The name itself means, the one who emerged first, and in the Zulu creation myth, he was the sky god, the thunder god, and the original architect of everything. In the beginning, there was only the sky and the primordial reeds, long stalks that grew from the earth like divine antennas. Then came Alanga, the source of all life, from which the first humans emerged. They didn't fall from the sky, nor were they sculpted from clay. No, they emerged from the reeds, fully formed, like blades of destiny rising from the ground. The earth was not conquered, it was inherited. Nature birthed man directly, without pain or command, only growth. But Umvalankanji wasn't distant. He communicated through thunder and earthquakes, shaking the earth when he disapproved of human behavior. He was both protector and punisher. In some versions of the myth, he descended to earth and attempted to marry the daughter of the first human, but was rejected. Instead of revenge, he returned to the heavens, his withdrawal marking the spiritual distance between gods and men. His silence became a reminder, you may not always see God, but when he speaks, the earth trembles. The Zulu story isn't just poetic, it's electrifying. Viral worthy. Because unlike the usual narratives of divine creation from clay or cosmic eggs, the Zulu myth presents a world where life grows from life. No factories. No blueprints. Just raw, organic manifestation from sacred nature. And what's more compelling than that in today's world? A world rediscovering eco-consciousness, where people are yearning to reconnect with the earth, not as a resource, but as a parent. This story grips viewers not just with drama, but with deep spiritual simplicity. It reminds us that the divine isn't always wrapped in thunderbolts and temples. Sometimes, God hides in the tall grass. Sometimes, creation isn't a spectacle, but a quiet emergence. And sometimes, the roar from the heavens is not a threat, but a memory. The Zulu creation myth isn't just a tale, it's a thunderous whisper from the past, telling us that we all came from something sacred, and we are still part of it. In the verdant heartlands of southeastern Nigeria, the Igbo people speak of a supreme force so vast, so complete, that it needs no temple, Chukwu, the source of all being. More than just a god, Chukwu is the essence of reality itself. The name is a fusion of chi, spiritual essence or personal god, and Ukwu, great or supreme, forming a divine being that is simultaneously above all and within all. Unlike the wrathful gods of distant heavens, Chukwu doesn't rule with fear, he governs through balance, harmony, and interconnectedness. In the Igbo creation myth, the world began with a void, and from it emerged Chukwu, who created Allah, the earth goddess, mother of fertility, justice, and death. Together, Chukwu and Allah did not build the world like bricks on mortar, they activated it, bringing into existence the four elements, fire, water, air, and earth. Chukwu infused the world with chi, the spark of personal destiny that lives in every human. Every person was born with their own chi. A divine GPS pointing toward purpose. In Igbo cosmology, creation isn't just cosmic, it's personal. But here's the twist that gives this myth viral heat: Igbo creation isn't about submission. It's about partnership. Humans are not passive clay. They are co-creators with Chukwu, responsible for bringing cosmic order into daily life. This is where the concept of Yuwa, the world, meets Omanala, customs/laws. What Chukwu starts, humans must maintain. Harmony isn't a gift, it's a duty. If the world tilts out of balance, it's not just the gods who respond, it's a cosmic ripple felt in birth, harvest, health, and destiny. And unlike many traditions that glorify chaos before creation, the Igbo story is a masterclass in structured duality. Male and female, light and shadow, life and death, all exist not in conflict but in balance. Even deities are paired: Chukwu and Allah, Amadioha, thunder god, and Ani, earth spirit, Adanani, spiritual science, and Omanala, cultural law. This isn't mythology for entertainment, this is philosophy in motion, rooted in mathematics, ethics, and ecology. It's a cosmology that could sit comfortably in TED Talks or even quantum physics debates. Why does this matter now? Because in a world overwhelmed by noise, imbalance, and identity crisis, the Igbo creation myth offers a quiet revolution: you are divine, but you are also responsible. You were created with purpose, but you must walk in awareness. That message is viral gold. It taps into the hunger for self-knowledge, ancestral wisdom, and spiritual grounding. Chukwu's world is not just a place to live, it's a sacred circuit, and you, viewer, are both the spark and the current. What if Africa's creation myths were never just stories, but encrypted blueprints of ancient philosophy, spirituality, and science? What if the gods weren't mere legends, but symbols of consciousness, ethics, and cosmology? From Chukwu's balance in Igbo land to Ama's celestial codes among the Dogon, from the sacred thunder of Kanji to the divine architects of the Yoruba realm, these myths are not fairy tales. They are intellectual frameworks, oral libraries, and living codes passed down through bloodlines, masquerades, and midnight fires. Across the continent, African creation stories do something radical: they decentralize power. No one god hoards dominion. Instead, deities co-create, humans bear fragments of divinity, and spirit and matter intertwine. These myths center nature, not as backdrop, but as character. Trees speak. Rivers carry memory. Earth is sacred womb. In an age where humanity faces environmental collapse and spiritual bankruptcy, African mythology says what global systems forgot: creation is not a conquest, it is a relationship. And that's why these stories are going viral again. As modern audiences search for origin, meaning, and identity in a digital jungle, these ancient African myths are becoming medicine. People are not just reading them, they're tattooing them, animating them, building fashion brands and Afrofuturist films around them. Why? Because these myths speak of a world where you are not a sinner by birth, but a co-creator with a destiny, a being of purpose, connected to gods, land, ancestors, and stars. Even more viral is what lies beneath the surface. African myths aren't just spiritual, they're mathematical, astronomical, ecological. The Dogon knew of Sirius B before telescopes. The Yoruba encoded social harmony into divine duty. The Igbo embedded personal identity into cosmic law. Each myth is a time capsule of lost African genius, waiting to be unlocked. And as global eyes turn toward Africa's innovation and cultural resurgence, these ancient stories are not relics, they're revelations. So, when you hear someone dismiss African creation stories as primitive folklore, pause and remember, these are not stories of people who didn't know the world. These are stories of people who knew it so well, they sang it into meaning, carved it into memory, and passed it on as living code. The gods may have created the world, but the myths? They created us, our values, our rhythm, our resistance, our pride. And now, in this moment of global awakening, we are finally remembering who we are. In the heart of Africa's creation myths lies a universe teeming with mystery, divinity, and spiritual depth, a cosmos where gods do not merely command, but commune, where the earth is not a resource, but a sacred presence, and where every human carries a spark of the eternal within. These stories are more than myth, they are mirrors reflecting the soul of a continent, encoded with ancestral wisdom, cosmic laws, and timeless truths. As we uncover these ancient blueprints, we're not just exploring how the world began, we're awakening to who we truly are. If this journey stirred something within you, like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more hidden history, spiritual secrets, and the untold mysteries of Africa. The ancestors are speaking, are you listening?